How does poker floating control pot size? Have you ever wondered how some players seem to control the pot size effortlessly while playing poker? One key tactic they use is called floating. Floating involves calling a bet on the flop with a weaker hand, with the intention of taking control later in the game. This strategy is all about managing pot size through smart decision-making and understanding your opponent's behavior. First off, let's talk about position. Floating works best when you are in a later position. This means you act after your opponent on future betting rounds. Being last to act gives you a huge advantage. You can observe how your opponent plays before deciding your next move. This allows you to keep the pot size manageable. You can choose to bet small, raise, or even check based on what your opponent does. Next, floating helps you gather information. When you call a bet on the flop, you want to see how your opponent reacts on the turn. If they check, it often indicates weakness. This is your chance to bet a controlled amount, usually around half the pot, to take it down without risking too much. If they continue to bet aggressively, you can fold or call again, which is known as double floating. This way, you avoid letting the pot grow too large when you have a weak hand. Another important aspect of floating is selective aggression. After floating the flop, if you hit a strong hand or want to bluff, you can raise on the turn. This allows you to inflate the pot when it's beneficial. On the other hand, if you want to keep the pot small, you can check or make smaller bets. This flexibility is a major part of why floating is effective. You can also exploit your opponent's tendencies. Floating is particularly useful against players who often continuation bet but do so with weak hands. Many of these bets miss the flop, and if your opponent checks later, you can capitalize on that. This gives you control over the pot size by deciding when to apply pressure or when to keep things small. The texture of the board also plays a role in how you float and manage the pot size. On dry boards with few draws, floating and then betting a modest amount can make you look strong. This helps you control the pot and pressure your opponents. On wet boards with many draws, floating with backdoor draws can allow you to apply pressure over multiple streets. Finally, floating serves both defensive and offensive purposes. Defensively, it protects you from aggressive opponents by calling their bets and not folding too often. This helps you control the pot size by not overcommitting with weak hands. Offensively, it allows you to take the pot away later or build it when you improve your hand. In summary, floating in poker is a strategic way to control pot size. By using position to gather information, making informed decisions, and exploiting your opponent's tendencies, you can keep pots manageable or inflate them when it suits you. This tactic is essential for effective post-flop play and pot control.